some answers.
Yes, Kavita.
Why do we have the need to please others?
What would happen if you don't?
I will not be accepted by the other person.
And what would happen if you don't accept, or if you're not accepted by others?
I feel so rejected.
And if you get rejected, then
I'll feel so bad, so sad.
why would you feel sad?
Because people are not accepting me as they are, as I am.
And then what would be the final and the worst consequences?
Nobody will like me. Nobody will be there with me. Nobody will love me.
And then
I'll be all alone. Maybe.
and what would happen if you're all alone?
How can I survive being just alone?
That's it.
Is it the fear that makes us all please others?
Yes. Your subconscious mind has been programmed to make sure that you survive.
Okay.
So anything that you see as anti-survival,
Okay.
subconscious mind tries to defend you against that. So if you see rejection as anti-survival,
Okay.
your subconscious mind will work very hard to make sure that you're accepted.
Okay.
And you would consciously or subconsciously keep working hard to be accepted.
Okay.
But interestingly, all those attempts of being accepted also becomes counterproductive,
Right.
right? At times, the more you work hard to be accepted, the
The more
more
you're rejected.
you get rejected.
So how do we come out of that loop?
Number one, first of all, I think if you can just help yourself by disassociating rejection with death.
Rejection with death.
Yes. You need to address your fears first.
Okay.
And the worst fear we have at subconscious level is that of a death.
Okay. So are you saying that it's a fear of death that is making me please others?
Yes.
Oh.
At a very deep level.
Okay.
You may not be aware about it at conscious level.
Mm-hmm. So how do I overcome this fear? What is that I should be doing? And how can I naturally be myself without, putting a mask? How can I just be natural?
Most of our actions are fear oriented, not inspiration oriented.
Right.
See, we move with inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't move, we move with desperation,
Mm-hmm.
or ultimately the universe conspires.
True.
The movement is the essence of life.
True.
Yeah. Several times we tend to get stagnated, or there is a threatened stagnation in life,
Okay.
because we often use our free will not to move, get attached, remain stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
So fears are all these conspiracy mechanisms that's been given to us to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that we remain on the move,
Okay.
so that we continue doing something or the other in life.
Mm-hmm.
So the game goes on.
Okay.
Now it's important to keep playing game,
Okay.
and if you have to play game, might as well play game that you really enjoy, isn't it?
True.
Why get into so much of painful dramas?
True. So how can how do I play this game with inspiration?
Okay, so what is your fear driving you towards?
Okay. Not thought about it.
Yes. See, there is a gift hidden
Mm-hmm.
in that fear too.
Okay.
Suppose if you didn't have the fear of rejection, what kind of personality would you have been exactly?
I would have been a very free flowing, I would have been doing things that I like.
Absolutely.
And I would
Okay.
not have this fear haunting. So maybe I would be myself.
Oh, and then?
It would have been wonderful. I would never be thinking about what people think about me, and it would be so natural.
What
Everything would be
is
so natural and so creative.
awesome? What's stopping you from doing that?
Yeah, so all the time I'm thinking about what people will think of me, which I know is not important to me. At a conscious level, I don't care what people think of me, but still there is a fear of what will people think of me, which makes me do things sometimes which I don't want to do.
That's what I wanted to understand. There's a risk of you not cooperating with people if you didn't have fear of rejection.
Okay, I didn't understand that.
So, yes, if you didn't have fear,
Hmm.
it was nice. It would have been very nice. You would have been carefree personality. You would have
True.
enjoyed your life.
Hmm.
But there's also a risk of not cooperating with people.
Mm. Okay, fantastic.
Did you see that part of it?
No, never. Yeah.
Right? So, if you can promise yourself and promise to people around that with due inspiration, I choose to remain
Hmm.
in harmony,
Okay.
respect people's wish, and yet do things not because you're scared of being rejected, but you would do things because you love them, you understand them, you understand their needs,
Okay.
and remain sensitive to them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you enhance and maintain the sensitivity, you can do exactly what you're supposed to be doing with fear and yet in a pain free manner.
Wow.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So I just promise myself that I'll be cooperative with others, and then this need of pleasing others will not be there. That is what you're trying to say me?
Absolutely. The
Okay,
fear is
fine.
actually helping you in remaining in harmony with society, with
Society.
people around, with family members,
Okay.
with other members in the society.
Okay.
There's a big risk of going haywire, hurting people, getting antisocial if you didn't have fear of rejection.
Okay.
So, this planning has been given to us to make sure that we cooperate with people.
Okay. So
Now, the
that's
cooperation can happen with inspiration, with understanding,
okay.
intuitively,
Okay.
and what we not really feel scared and do things.
Okay.
In fact, what we do out of fear sometimes gets counterproductive.
Correct.
So, if you can serve the purpose, you don't really have to be scared.
True.
Correct? It's like a child who does exams and studies correctly doesn't
Okay.
have to be scared of parents.
Okay. So is this something related to PAB that we call passive aggressive behavior?
Well, passive aggressive behavior is a completely different story.
Okay.
Um, in passive aggressive behavior, usually we tend to negate the domination in a very destructive manner.
Okay.
So, for example, a young child is dictated to wash dishes after dinner. And if she hates it and she says, "Oh, I would like to watch Cartoon Network instead of doing dishes at the end of the day," but she doesn't have courage to tell that to her mother.
Okay.
So eventually, she ends up breaking few plates and she repeats the same thing twice or thrice on 3, 4 consecutive nights. Now, mother's going to say, "Anyway, baby, go and watch your Cartoon Network, I'll do the dishes."
Okay.
So, in a very destructive manner, she landed up dominating and taking control of her family circumstances over the authority without really being overtly dictatorial.
True.
So, we eventually learn that you can defy the authority and you really do not have to be aggressive, but in a very passive manner, we land up being aggressive.
Okay.
Now you see this pattern happening amongst children who are forced to study. They may study but doesn't serve the purpose.
True.
Behind all the aggression and dictation that's been thrown on them,
Okay.
or a person who's been forced to take up a career may choose not to do well in the career, or a person who's been forced to get married. That happens several times in Indian circumstances. So you do get married because you're forced to get married, but you make sure that the marriage doesn't work.
Sure.
Yeah. So in a similar manner, several times we have a very destructive approach towards authority, just to silently prove to them that you were wrong.
Okay.
That doesn't really help anyone. You know,
True.
it's a no-win situation.
True.
Now, it's an individual choice what they want to do with themselves.
Okay.
The worst PAB or passive aggressive behavior that I really come across is the behavior against God. Why
Okay.
the hell did you send me on this wretched planet Earth?
True.
I choose not to live life 100%.
True.
And these are the worst circumstances.
Okay. And if you are aware that you have a PAB, how do you work so that you always work harmoniously with people and you have a win-win situation?
Most people who have passive aggressive behavior don't even know that they have passive aggressive behavior.
True.
And that's how they very silently keep being destructive to themselves in order to punish others.
Okay.
Now, with awareness, you can choose to handle the same situation in a constructive manner.
Okay. But you're subconsciously already working because the person is not aware that he has a PAB, but somewhere it's a no-win situation for the person who has PAB as well as the person who is working with him. So how will we consciously, like people who don't know about it, how will they consciously work towards it? So what are the symptoms that you know that if how will you recognize that this person is a passive aggressive has a passive aggressive behavior, and how do we actually handle those people, and if a person actually knows that he has a passive aggressive behavior, how will we work in a way that it can be harmoniously cooperating and working in a team?
Well, you don't have to handle PAB so that you do good to others.
Hmm.
Think of your own self first.
Okay.
With your kind of behavior or a PAB kind of a behavior,
Hmm.
you are actually punishing your own self. Why would you do that?
True. But I'm not aware of it that I'm doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the very first step is being aware that you're behaving with passive aggressive behavior.
Okay.
And step number 2 is to creatively find out the solution to achieve the same results in constructive manner. So, coming back to the same example that I gave, if a child had a courage to say, Mom, I'll wash dishes, but I have a Cartoon Network program, which is my favorite program. I'll watch and then I'll come and wash the dishes.
Hmm.
If she had that courage and if that freedom to express herself, probably she didn't have to break
True.
plates.
True.
Yeah. So, it's all about learning to communicate your need, first of all, to your own self
Okay.
and figuring out a win win situation. Most of us, we don't even know that there is a possibility of a lovely win win situation.
True.
Most of us, we operate from a sense of you win, I lose, or I win, you lose situation.
True.
We do not see the possibility of win win situations.
True.
There's always a way out where everybody is benefited. And the winners are the ones who actually learn to figure out and find out this kind of situations.
True. But my question is still not answered. If I know I have a PAB, which I'm not aware, I'm talking from a point of view, I am not aware it's a PAB kind of a response. Then how do I consciously or subconsciously work? Because I'm already programmed that way. Ki whatever I want, I can get it in a, But how will I, as a layman, understand that I have a PAB and I'll work towards it?
Okay. There are 2, 3 ways in which you can figure out, ask yourself, are you sabotaging your own interest?
Okay. Okay.
And whom are you trying to prove that you're a failure?
Okay.
And what would happen if you start succeeding and winning in life?
Wow. Okay.
Several times, very subconsciously, you're still trying to get even with your parents who are already dead.
True.
So, when you answer these questions, you will get an insight
Okay.
and figure out in which unique ways
Mm-hmm.
are you getting even
Mm-hmm.
with the authority figure in your life.
Okay. So just this insight will change my behavior, or do I need to do something more?
Well, the insight is the first step,
Okay.
and then, of course, you have to come to terms with that authority figure first.
Okay.
See, eventually it's not the authority figure, it is then PAB against your own self.
Okay.
So we all have an adult, we have a child and a parent personality in us.
True.
Now it's very common to have this parental personality dictating to you what should you eat and when should you eat and how much should you eat and when do you wake up and how much should you work and how much should you discipline, etc., etc., etc.
True.
So all those instructions that you keep giving it to yourself, that okay, from tomorrow onwards you're going to go to the gym and you're going to go for a walk and you're going to eat only this much, you're going to behave in a particular manner, are all parent personality trying to dictate to you.
Okay.
And every time there is a sabotaging child who says, oh, not today, maybe tomorrow. Oh, let me eat this last piece of cake. From tomorrow I will diet. Or, okay, let me just go for a party and tomorrow I'll think about gymming. Are those all children who wants to sabotage the dictation from your own parental personality?
Okay.
Now, in this case, there's a huge conflict between the parent personality of yours and a child personality of yours. An adult has to intervene in a very neutral manner.
Okay. Like, can you give me an example? How will that
How will that happen? Okay, so now I think in a transactional analysis, you can learn this in details.
Okay.
Um, those who have not really studied, well, with logic, you can allow the adult personality to rationally look at the situation. Therapeutically speaking, if you want to do self-help, you have to reduce the emotional charge of those inner children who felt dominated
Okay.
by adult personalities.
Okay. So you mean to say I'll have to work on all the inner children who are there, or is it would be one to one? It's just one event and it's all done.
So the primary inner children is important.
Okay.
For example, you catch yourself repeatedly breaking your own rules that you made.
Okay.
Now, this is classical PME. Okay, where you make the rules and you keep breaking,
Okay.
and you feel like a failure, and you keep sabotaging your own interest.
Okay.
Now, behind all those kind of behaviors, there is an incidence in the past where something similar has happened.
Okay.
It's easy and yet not so easy to go back to that incidence and heal complete emotional charge related to that.
Okay.
Right? Once you heal the emotional charge, you get so neutral. Now remember one thing, Kavita, it's not a person or a personality that you have problem with.
True.
It's your perception
About that person.
about that person.
True.
So if you saw somebody as an authority, you have an issue.
Correct.
The person is not an issue.
True.
And again, that perception of authority is not an issue. How you felt is an issue.
True.
So if you felt small, if you felt inadequate, if you felt dictated, if you felt helpless, you need to first heal those emotions.
Okay.
Now, the whole attempt of destructive behavior is essentially to avoid feeling those painful emotions.
Okay. Okay.
So, for example, when you were dictated unfairly, the unfairness again is your perception, but you felt very helpless. Now, there's a need to make your parent figure or authority figure helpless, feel helpless.
True.
So you behave in such a destructive, sabotaging manner that your authority figures feel helpless.
True.
So part of you feels very happy seeing that.
Right.
Now, it's a different story that to make your authority and parent figure feel so helpless, you're sabotaging your own interest.
Correct.
The whole drama is there because there is still a deep wound and a deep emotion of helplessness still existing in you.
True.
If you can heal that helplessness,
Okay.
if you can help your helplessness,
Okay.
probably you will be able to automatically forgive that authority personality.
Okay.
Now, when you start automatically forgiving that personality, you will not have a need to get even to them. If you don't have a need to get even to them and take revenge at a very subconscious level, you will stop being self-destructive and sabotaging in nature. So it all finally boils down to unpleasant emotions generated in the past due to certain incidences.
So you mean to say, I remember listening to one of your sessions where you said people have a habit of coming in late.
Hmm.
So is it something, or is it also related to a PAB behavior? Why would somebody want to come late to a session?
It's just not to comply to the authority, just showing to yourself that I'm not that small enough to be dictated by somebody.
Okay.
So you've been pressurized to be on time all the time. There's a desire to break free from that pressure.
So you see, in corporate offices, there would be some people who would always have a tendency to come late. Even if they try, they would something would conspire where it happens that they are late in the office. So
Yes.
you mean to say, even if we work towards it, our subconsciously we track situation that make us late again.
Yeah, so I do get certain participants
Yeah,
even in the
I
workshop
mhm.
who invariably come late. So I
Correct.
said, can we keep it at 10 o'clock tomorrow? Says, no, even if it is 12 o'clock or 12 o'clock midnight, I would be still 5 minutes late
Okay.
because that's how it is.
Okay.
So
So
my question would be, whom are you still rebelling against? And the aha time comes. Say I'm rebelling against my class monitor, or
oh,
I'm
okay.
rebelling against my father or tuition teacher,
Okay.
who would always, create a hell if I was 2 minutes late even. So I started enjoying
Mm-hmm.
this whole drama of being late and being shouted at and still sabotaging and still not complying to the authority, etc., etc., etc. Most of these people don't even know what games they're playing.
True, yeah,
You know?
I'm sure. So, you mean to say, going back to a particular situation where this person was handled badly for coming late, if he goes and removes a charge in it, will that
Yes, that
will the
itself is
pattern will
enough.
change?
Yes, yes, definitely,
Wow,
definitely.
wow.
Yeah. Just release the charge. In the moment there are no emotional charge
Mm-hmm.
left,
Mm-hmm.
charges left,
Mm-hmm.
um, you will get a bright insight. See, your subconscious mind has a wonderful solution.
Okay.
It's only when you're very disturbed,
True.
you do not have an access to that brilliant solution. So, several times, I really do not have to counsel or advise anyone. I simply help them release and reduce the emotional charge.
Okay.
And in that space, when they completely become blank, quiet, calm, and in bliss, throw open the question. Tell me the constructive way of dealing with the authority.
Okay.
And they get the answer.
Wow.
And the answer is so unique that I'm sure any professionals in the world wouldn't have been able to give that beautiful answer to that person. Because we all exactly know what's best for us. Nobody else can dictate to you.
Sure. Is it that easy?
Oh, yes, it's wonderfully easy.
Okay. So you speak about removing the charge. How do you do it?
Well, there are several techniques, a
Okay.
lot of self help techniques. The best technique that can be utilized is just breath work,
Okay.
because your breath is directly connected to your feelings. When you're upset, your breath is also erratic.
Okay.
So, manipulating your breath or monitoring your breath or balancing your breath
Okay.
in turn will manipulate, monitor, or balance your emotions.
Wow. Okay. But that would just remove the charge at that point of time. But so if I want to work on it immediately and get that root off.
You know, Kavita, mind is like a garden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if it is not attended, it's like any other piece of land which
Sure.
has mix of weeds and natural plantations
Sure.
and sometimes ornamental plantations.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily it always looks beautiful.
Sure.
All right. Now, if you want to make use of this piece of land in a constructive manner, you have to first plan out.
Okay.
So, the very first thing you decide what you want to do with this piece of land,
Correct.
right? When you do
Right.
farming, you just survey the land,
Sure.
then you understand the purpose. Yeah, do you want to make an ornamental garden, or you want to do a kitchen farming, or you just want to leave grazing land for your cattle? What do you want to do? So first you decide that.
Mm-hmm.
After deciding, understanding the purpose behind this piece of land, now you have to de-weed it, because weeds are the one who will take away maximum nutrition
Sure.
and also space and your time too. So after de-weeding, you need to then soften the soil enough.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you throw the seeds
Mm-hmm.
on a concrete road, they're not going to grow.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so you need to first prepare the soil for the
Mm-hmm.
seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after preparing the soil for the seeds, you need to decide the right kind of seeds for that soil.
Okay,
Don't expect coconuts to grow in Himalayan region.
sure.
And rhododendrons will not grow on a sandy soil near the ocean, right?
Sure.
So it's very nice to say, oh, positive thought, but
Mm.
even certain thoughts are applicable under certain
Sure.
circumstances. So thoughts are like seeds. So same way, coming back to gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a right kind of seed, and after putting the right kind of seed, you need a little bit of technical know-how,
Mm-hmm.
how much to water, when to water,
Mm-hmm.
what to take care, the manure,
Mm-hmm.
how much distance you need to keep between seeds, etc., etc. A little technical know-how
Okay.
would make your garden more beautiful.
Okay.
So now learn to grow this garden in a
Mm-hmm.
systematic, step-by-step manner,
Mm-hmm.
and then, of course, enjoy the fruits.
Sure. So you talk about de-weeding.
Hmm.
Now I have a garden.
Mhm.
How would you how would you tell us about the process of de-weeding? What do you mean by
All right.
de-weeding?
So remember one thing: you can't really change your past.
Correct.
Yeah, you just can't change your past.
Sure.
It has happened. It's a
Yes.
fact of your life,
Yeah.
right? You can't negate your parents. You can't negate the schooling. You can't negate what has happened in your life. What you can help yourself with is the emotional charge.
Sure.
Yeah. The moment the emotional charge is reduced,
Mm-hmm.
you start calming down.
Mm-hmm.
And with a calm mind, you will see the same situation in a different light.
Okay.
Suddenly, it will make a whole lot of sense
Mm-hmm.
why things are the way they are and why things were the way they were.
Sure.
Eventually, as you start releasing the emotional charge
Mm-hmm.
from all that has happened in the past
Mm-hmm.
and all that is happening in the now
Mm-hmm.
and all that you're concerned about in the future,
Okay.
you will have wonderfully calm state of mind and a great clarity about your life.
Okay.
And everything that really happened will start making a huge sense to you.
Sure.
You would understand the brilliance in every situation.
Okay.
Now, that is not a kind of putting icing on a cow dung, that's what they call it, right?
True.
It's actually seeing a wonderful, brilliant plan
Mm-hmm.
in every designs of life.
Okay.
And that's what I call a true spiritual growth.
But how can you see brilliance in something when something very bad or something very painful is happening in your life? How can you see the brilliance? How will you just switch back and see the brilliance in it?
Oh, yeah, till the time you're emotionally charged, sure, you will not be able to see that,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Remember, darkness is the absence of light.
Sure.
You can't fight with darkness, you need light.
Sure.
Okay? You need to just look out for the light. So have your focus on the brilliance. The darkness anyway will vanish.
That is what you talk about the gift and the wrappers.
Yes. So, yeah, that's what I say. Now, all of us are beautifully gifted, and we are given several opportunities to receive this gift. But not necessarily we identify, acknowledge, and respect this gift. We several times discard this gift because we don't like the wrapper.
Sure.
We don't even bother to check what's the gift inside.
But do you think everybody has that intuition and has that power to understand what the gift is and what the wrapper is and differentiate between the two?
Well, everybody is intuitive. It's a different story that people don't respect their intuition.
Okay.
And the intuition only works when you're calm.
Okay, so if I am having a fight with my husband, how will I see that what and the things are not very good? So how will I see a gift in that particular situation?
Okay, so
I'm just
yes,
throwing
I understand. It's a very
yeah,
practical
yeah,
situation,
correct.
right? So, well, the fight with your husband is the end result of a lot of unhealed past.
Okay.
you know. So situations are not bad in the now. If you
True.
see, in the moment, everything is fine.
Okay.
You get only triggered
Mm-hmm.
because what's happening in the now reminds you of something that is unhealed in the past. Or you get affected because you're concerned about something in the future. So you're a married person,
Right.
and if at all you fight with your spouse or husband, you would only fight because what he does reminds you of something that has happened in the past, or you get concerned about what could happen in the future if things
True.
go on the way.
True.
But in the moment, everything is okay.
Okay. Yeah.
In a given particular moment, in that second, in this moment, everything is fine. If we learn to live from the moment to moment, everything is fine. Now, it's easy to say that live in the moment, live for the moment,
True.
because the unhealed past will keep haunting you.
True.
So, if your husband reminds you of unpleasantness that you've had with your father, sure, he'll keep triggering you.
Okay.
If your husband reminds you of that school teacher who's been difficult for you to handle,
Okay.
he'll keep triggering you.
Okay.
So, in order to reduce this kind of triggering and friction,
Mm-hmm.
you need to reduce the emotional charge against what has happened in the past.
Okay.
Most of us, we don't like to go back to the past,
True.
because we think that has
It's
happened.
painful. Yeah.
Most of us have very effectively shoved everything under the carpet.
Correct.
Now, all those heaps that we have created by shoving emotions under the carpet are fantastic trigger points which our close relatives and friends know it through and through.
True.
They know when to poke you and where to poke you, and all that you have pushed under the carpet comes out like a psh.
Sure.
Does that not happen to you?
Most of the
Yeah,
time.
most of the time, right? Now, if you take an effort to clear your carpet little at a time on a regular basis, sure, you'll not have those heaps. And sure, you don't have those sensitivity,
Yeah.
right? And sure, those buttons will vanish.
Sure. But can I do it on myself, or do I really need to have somebody to help me? Can I do it by myself?
Yes, of course, why not?
Okay.
Unless it's something very painful.
Okay.
So the situation where I would say you could take help are situations like molestations or
Oh.
rapes, or where there's been a devastating experience which you haven't been able to handle, and you've chosen not to look at it
Okay.
ever.
Okay.
So to handle it for the first time, maybe you need professionals
Okay.
support.
Okay.
Otherwise, most of those small little incidences, yes, you can. I would suggest you start with something very benign.
Okay. Like, can you give me an example?
Benign as I missed my exams,
Okay.
or
My
I
teacher
missed the
scolded
bus.
me for coming late, for example.
Yeah, it could be benign and it could be very malicious too.
Okay.
Like teacher scolding may not be that problematic, but then along with teacher scolding you, there could be other consequences like the class laughed, or
Correct.
school principal came to know about it, or it was very unfair way in which my teacher scolded,
Uh-huh.
things like that.
Okay.
I remember one client who came to me and said, I once reached very late on my cricket field, and my cricket coach, he called me and he says, "What do I shout at you for?"
Okay.
He says, "You're not even a scholar.
Oh.
You're not even good in arts or crafts. You're not even good in the music. You're actually useless. Why should I waste my time even in shouting at you?"
Oh.
And that's been so humiliating.
True.
So without shouting, the teacher made him feel so useless that you're not even worth being shouted at.
Okay. So this kind of person will always have a problem with humiliation, or what would be the
Yeah, sure. He suffered from low self-esteem for
esteem?
years.
Okay.
For years. And when I was working with him, I realized the emotional charge was as acute as it could have been at the age 19 or 20 when that incident happened. Yeah.
So inner childs are created even at the age of 20?
Oh, inner child can happen even 5 minutes back.
Okay. It's
or
a new
even
one.
now.
Is it something that is there and it just creates more, or is it
See,
something the new
yeah.
inner child is creating?
Well, every time you go through certain shattering experience, a part of your personality gets loosely hung and loosely remains in touch with your core personality.
Okay. So every time a new inner child is created, or something has been there, and because of that, something gets created.
Now, see, we're all born, or rather conceived, whole and complete.
Okay.
With every trauma that you go through, there are
Hmm.
cracks, and
Oh,
these cracks make you further vulnerable to next cracks.
okay. Okay.
And this cracks also invites further seeding
Mm-hmm.
from external agencies
Sure.
and further thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
which will widen the crack,
Mm-hmm.
making it more vulnerable, and the cycle repeats.
Okay.
Yeah. So somewhere we have to address these cracks, heal those inner children, and integrate with the mainstream personality. And that's what healing is all about.
Okay.
Healing is not about fixing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about feeling whole and complete, because the healing word comes from whole.
Okay.
WHOLE, whole.
Mm-hmm.
So feeling whole and complete, or being in touch, which is whole and complete. So when you feel whole and complete, and when you get in touch with that which is whole and complete, anyway the life gets fixed.
Wow. Is there a possibility that we can clean and cover all our cracks? Is it possible?
Well, we can, but we are still vulnerable to cracks. So healing is an ongoing process. It is like saying that, oh, I've taken bath yesterday. Do I really need to take it now
Okay.
again?
Okay.
So I would rather recommend that we all deserve this healing process. I call healing a soul bathing process.
Okay.
So we need to allocate and dedicate some time of our life to this healing process on an
Okay.
ongoing basis.
Okay.
So many things happen during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So many things and so many feelings, so many statements, so many emotions we are exposed to on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we deserve to spend little time with our own self
Mm-hmm.
to clean up the mess on a regular basis?
Yeah, we do.
We do, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think we all are entitled to healing.
Sure.
Healing is the birthright.
Sure.
We all must claim that.
Do you have any meditation or anything that can help us?
Oh, well, there are several meditations. You can begin with Soul Temple Healing Meditation.
Okay.
That's there on the internet. And you can design your own healing meditations. Classically, I recommend people that do cleansing work first.
Okay.
First, understand your life,
Right.
understand the purpose of your life.
Okay.
Then, do adequate cleansing work.
Mm-hmm.
After that, prepare yourself and make yourself more receptive to goodness of life.
Okay.
Then, select the right kind of thinking process. Be vigilant about your thought
Mm-hmm.
and select and design right affirmations for you
Mm-hmm.
and nurture those thoughts in a step by step manner.
Okay.
And then go for the deeper meanings of life.
Is this process as long as you say? Because it sounds very long.
In fact, I said it in 5 minutes. If we are really dedicated, it shouldn't take more than 5 months.
Okay.
I'm not claiming that you'll be fine overnight. Yeah, it
Mhm.
does take time. Now, again, I can't really tell you how much time would it take, because it's from a person to person. There are some people who have come from relatively much stable background
Mhm.
and haven't gone through so many traumas, and they've had a very cushion and cocoon life.
Mhm.
And there are some personalities who've really gone through a huge rough times and lots of adversities.
Mhm.
So depending from the person to person, it would take time. There are also some personalities who've done a lot of work on themselves. So for them, it's much more easier. And there are beginners who've never addressed this. They don't even know that they've had traumas.
Sure.
So they do take a little longer time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kavita.
Thanks,
Thank you
Avarta.
so much. All the best.